Welcome to Law Committee for September 28th. My name is Victoria Plotsky, Chair of the Law Committee, and Majority Council.
Sure, Madam Chairwoman. Ms. Plasky?
Present.
Kindness?
Here.
Bergdorf?
Here.
Feeney?
Here.
Kuhn?
Here.
Mayo?
Here.
Peter?
Here.
Ricard?
Present.
And Whalen?
Here.
All present, Madam Chairwoman.
Thanks, everybody, for being here. Has anyone had a chance to review the minutes?
I have, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes pass unanimously. Let's jump right to item 17, is Ms. Secord in the house.
Thank you very much. I so appreciate your time. So good evening, Madam Chair, members of the legislature. I'm here to request approval to allow crime victims to accept the 5th year of a 5-year grant from the Department of Criminal Justice Services. This is a grant that allows us to do a lot of prevention education. So we do a lot of work in schools. We do our rape crisis work. We do hotline work with this. We do clinical work. So it funds almost all of our programs, and we would just appreciate the support to allow us to accept this funding.
Are there any questions for Ms. Secord?
Madam Chair, if there are no questions, I'd like to make a motion to move this. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a lovely evening.
Item 18, concerning indigent legal services. Is this Liam Furman?
Madam Chair, real quick, this is Liam McFarland. I'm sure some of you folks have seen her previously on a screen. Fortunately, we're here in person today. She is relatively new to our office, though she's been with us for some time now, so she's kind of the point now where she wants to venture into presenting to you fine folk. So this is our first time. Please take the opportunity after to introduce yourself. I'm sure she would appreciate that.
Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you guys for letting me be here today. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and thank you, committee, for listening to our proposal here. So I'm Lee McFarland, I'm a policy analyst within the County Executive's Office. We would like to apply for the Second Upstate Family Defense Child Welfare Quality Improvement and Caseload Reduction Grant. This grant being submitted on behalf of the public defenders, alternate public defender, and assigned counsel program, and is 100% reimbursable by the state. This funding will do the following. For the public defender, it would employ one public defender that will specialize in family court matters. And the alternate public defender's office, we would like to hire one social worker who will assist indigent clients responding to state intervention matters. And lastly, for the assigned counsel program, we are looking to secure non-legal trainings for personnel, non-legal personnel. So including investigators, social workers, and experts to assist attorneys in Article 10 matters.
Are there any questions for the department? It's the first time here. No questions?
No questions.
No.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if there are no questions, I'd like to make a motion to move this.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next time, we'll be hard.
Good job.
I was prepared.
All right, items 2 and 3 are tabled with request of sponsor. Item 4, local law C, I believe Majority Leader Dennis Queen is going to speak on that.
Yes, designated as the designated prime sponsor on this from Mr. Cleary. We have the public hearing now, but I think there was no speakers. I think this is pretty common sense legislation, help out law enforcement, crack down on something that's become kind of a problem. I know actually I had a family where had this stolen out of their car. So this actually gives law enforcement a tool to try to crack down on this. I guess the metal is something that's valuable, and they take it to the scrap dealers and sell them for cash. And this legislation will hopefully help our law enforcement to crack down on that type of problem. So I ask that we have a move favorably.
Are there any questions? Yes, Mr.
Okay, so the scrap metal dealer has to provide a hold on the check for 30 days. Do they have to do that with respect to their other scrap metals or just the catalytic converters, do you know?
Just the metal that they talk about in the law, and I think it's just a kind of like converter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless there's some other law that someone else passed that we're not aware of, I expect it to only be the catalytic converter.
So what is the law, I'm sorry, I didn't really hear the first part of your response, could you repeat it? So it's just the catalytic converters that they have to do the hold for,
Yeah.
but other metals, they don't have to do a hold, or it's not?
Not that we're aware of.
Not per this law.
Right.
Do you know how much they get on the average for a catalytic converter?
It depends on the vehicle. Obviously, a larger vehicle with a larger catalytic converter. The scrap metal shop only cares about the precious metals. They're filled with platinum, so
Ah,
it's 100 to 150 a pop. It can be more, but if yours gets ripped off and I sell for 150, it costs you $2,000.
mm-hmm,
So that's kind of the problem.
yeah. Okay. All right, thank you.
I'm gonna support this, but I'm a little confused as to how it works. Does someone keep the whole catalytic converter for 30 days? Or do they just keep the precious metal? And do we have scrap dealers in Albany County that dismantle cars and do these things? Because it's three questions, actually.
If you have a scrap metal dealer, that has a car, they're gonna be the owner of the car, and it has a carve out for the owner of the car. So it's to make it, it's a crime of convenience, if I'm honest. With a Sawzall, it takes 30 seconds to cut off a catalyst converter. $150 for 30 seconds of work. If we stop the ability of payment, it's now an inconvenience to the individual who stole. So you hold payment before, does the scrapyard hold the catalytic converter? You're not getting your catalytic converter back. I think there's a different set of laws that have a problem with using used catalytic converters, even if it was your own. So we're trying to make it not a crime of convenience. Stop the payment, and now the 30 seconds is now a monthly 30 seconds.
I mean, are there any notification requirements or, I mean, I realize what you're trying to do is you're trying to stop someone from pulling into my driveway, cutting off both sides of my catalytic converter and going out and dealing with it. But what mechanism is there that helps law enforcement deal with that?
There's also record keeping. So the individual selling it has to provide proof of who they are. And that's what's gonna help law enforcement. Because if they see it, it's my understanding that this happens, it's like a ring of individuals. And my conversations with Albany Police were that you can tell when those individuals are in custody because the crime goes way down. So it seems to be a group of individuals, or multiple groups, that are constantly doing this. So if we start seeing catalytic converters being stolen, we go to the scrapyards, we see who's turning them in. Now we got time before they get their $150 and they're out of town.
Okay, so that's really the mechanism, is you capture the name, and then it's 30 days before they can get their money, and that's the enforcement. Thank you very much.
They also have to issue a check to them, right? They have to keep a copy of the check.
Yeah. So that'll also help.
That's another way of identifying who the, perpetrator.
Wait a minute, so 5 says they're not, the scrap metal recycler isn't supposed to purchase or take possession of a used catalytic converter from anybody except certain identified kinds of entities, right?
Right, I think I'm sorry, I got a lot of papers in front of me. Like a mechanic is gonna have multiple catalytic converters, and the police aren't looking for the mechanics who are working on used cars.
Right, so the scrap metal, so basically what the legislation does is it tells a scrap metal recycler, you can't purchase or take possession of a used catalytic converter from anyone except for these select group of people. So do we have, I wouldn't have any idea what a catalytic converter looks like, but I'm assuming we think scrap metal dealers
Oh, yeah.
know what they look like? Okay.
You got 2 pipes, and then there's a big box in between.
Yeah, it looks like a muffler, part of a muffler, but if you know cars, it's readily identifiable.
Okay, and then section 6 says that if the scrap metal dealer, if they take possession of a catalytic converter, presumably from one of these entities that they're allowed to do it from, they need to maintain records when they do that. So if they're gonna take it from, whatever, insurance company, governmental agency, or whatever, then they have to keep a record of it. Where's the 30-day thing? Where am I missing here?
So, it's,
I need to keep the check for 3 years.
I see the 3 years thing, but I heard this 30-day thing and that I couldn't find it. And I wasn't quite sure what we were talking about.
Keep the record.
So there isn't something where they
I'm sorry,
delay.
14 days.
14 days, 14 days, yeah.
where is that?
It's in the
That's on
front
page one,
Ah,
section
section-
3.
Section 2.
Got it, yep.
Wrote this a while ago, sorry.
Came out of April.
Right, but okay, but that's the purpose, but where's the teeth of that? Where's the thing that says you have to do that, right? That's not really operative.
So
Section
this
three.
law
Isn't
is
it the violations?
substantially similar to laws of the same type in other jurisdictions that are being enforced and helpful to the citizens of those jurisdictions.
Yeah, right, I'm totally in favor of this, but I'm not seeing how that 14-day thing is operative anywhere. Right? That's my,
Isn't it
maybe we need to.
section 8 violations?
No, he's saying that it should
You
say
should
like
be in
shall.
payments,
Like under
probably.
section 7, it doesn't
Any-
say, don't pay the person for 14
Any
days.
person that
Right.
violates this local law shall.
Well, it really needs to be in the prohibitions or in the payments or somewhere, right? Whatever, we just need this 14-day thing that's in the purpose needs to be translated into some operative language in the statute somewhere.
So
Okay.
is it fair to say that that doesn't alter it at all, like in any way that we need another public hearing?
Yes, I would say that's,
Right.
it's
I
14.
don't think so, if it's already included in there, it's just not.
You're just
It's already
looking to
included
move
in
it to a
portion of
different
it.
section.
Yeah, it just needs to be,
Yeah, we should be able to-
translated into the thing.
And, section 8.
You're right.
Between now and the
I
time
think
of what would it be, October
I
11th,
think
myself and
weeks for violation.
Maybe.
So section 5.
Right.
Right, I
So it
think
should be
section
in
5
section
probably needs
5.
like an A and a B.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's moved tonight, we can just amend it on the floor, and we'll have the language ready for that.
Yeah.
Put it in section 5. Okay. All right.
All
I
right,
make
great,
a-
thanks.
I make a motion to move this as amended, and I'd like to be added as a sponsor.
But we can't.
We don't know what the amendment is, it's difficult.
That's conceptually amended.
Yeah, move it as presented.
As presented, and we'll amend
Yeah.
it on the floor.
Sure.
Are there any more questions?
So we still gotta make a motion to move it as
Yes, recently.
present. So I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Pickett.
Thank you.
Mr. Pickett. All in favor of this moving forward?
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Great, thank you. All right, item 5, local lot E. Omnibus, amending local law 1 for the omnibus to embrace off Albany County. Carolyn Kaufman.
Yes, this is the legislation, the salary disclosure legislation, I'm sorry, I'm not at the other end of the table. Should I go
Would you
now?
like to? Yeah, that's kind of
Thank you for again entering into discussion about this. We had a public hearing last night. We had one speaker regarding this salary disclosure legislation that we believe will go a long way in sort of leveling the playing field for individuals that are applying for jobs throughout the county, where they will be able to see the salary range, the low end and the high end of a salary range for the job that they're applying, so that they might better put themselves in a better position to, as they're applying for the job, requesting the proper salary for themselves. As you know, these kinds of, this kind of legislation will really, I think, go a long way to in giving women equal access, giving minorities equal access to jobs. Those people who have been displaced out of jobs and particularly now, as we're trying to recruit people to go back to work, want to make sure that they're putting themselves in the proper position to gain employment that's going to help them sustain their families. We've talked about this in 3 committees, I believe, and I believe there have been a number of questions that have been put forth, and I believe we've met, it's been vetted, and I would like to really ask your full support in moving this along for our meeting on next week, in 2 weeks.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions on this? We've talked about it a lot. Yes, Mr. Whitman?
Do we have any idea how many businesses and political subdivisions this is going to apply to that do business in Albany County?
I don't have that particular number, but I'm gonna ask Mr. Collins, do you have a number?
I don't have the number, but I would say the majority of them, the vast majority of them.
Okay.
And also Albany County itself, and, I mean, if you think about, I mean, you're part of the business community, if you think about, the size of the chamber,
Well, I
and
know,
beyond.
I know in Colony, we have 85,000 people at night and 250,000 people during the day, so the rest of them are business people. I think there's an estimate that we have over 20,000 business parcels in the town. So there's, could be potentially that amount of people. I am going to oppose this legislation, but it has nothing to do with equity. As far as I'm concerned, I have grave reservations of the County of Albany telling private businesses how to compete in their business space. This is not true for Schenectady County or Rensselaer County or any other county. So when an auto dealership hires a mechanic in Albany County, they will have to give a salary range. Well, his competitors in every other county, that's proprietary information. His or her competitors in every other county are then going to know what, if the pay range is $30 to $35 an hour, they know if they can hire somebody for $36 an hour, that they're going to get the best mechanics. So, I think our commerce is regional in the Capital District. And I know there is a version of this law that has been passed statewide, and it is going before, has not yet been sent to the governor. But to think that Albany County, in and of itself, would do this, would put thousands of businesses in a less than competitive position. So that's why I am going to oppose it. So I just wanted to explain that to you.
And I respect that, and I was gonna mention the fact that there is some state legislation that is pending, that could very well, will supersede anything that we do, once it does get passed or signed by the governor. And we looked at it as, Albany was taking the lead on something that we believe that will address the issue of equity and just a level playing field for people to sustain to get livelihood and sustain their families. So I respect what you're saying, and we have understood that there would be some pushback from the business community for reasons much like what you have mentioned.
Thank you.
So my concern is, to Paul's scenario and point, I'm worried more about the employee. If housekeeping companies, let's say, are stating in the paper that they're hiring for between $17 and $25 an hour, that is almost like all the other housekeeping companies now know what the rate of, say, the maids is going to be, the ceiling. So maybe they were willing to give $30 an hour to housekeepers, but now they see that the premier company is only paying a ceiling of 25, So now they might be predisposed to lowering the rate, almost like price fixing against the employee. Like, oh, if I'm running a housekeeping company and I see the maids in the paper are only going to employ people for between $15 to $23 an hour, and I was gonna, offer people to try to get them to come from the maids over to my company for $27 an hour, now I'm thinking, oh, I don't have to give that much because, the maids, let's say, this is just a hypothetical, I don't know what they're actually paying, but like, I just think it's almost detrimental to the employees because it's sort of like, I have a real estate brokerage company, we're not really supposed to talk about like the commissions that we charge our clients because we don't want the other companies to start price fixing amongst each other. So I just don't think that this is the best case scenario at all times for people that are applying for jobs because other companies will see, what so-and-so is paying, Birdars and Gahos is paying for a car mechanic between and again, I'm just throwing this out as an example or whatever garage.
But I would think that those industries, there's a rate that permeates each industry. And since you used the maids and or cleaning services, nobody's paying less than $25 an hour for somebody to come to your house to clean.
No, I'm talking about offices, like office cleaning.
Well, I just think that if you look at the particular industries that we're talking about, and people that are applying for jobs, I've been displaced, I haven't worked for a year, and I'm going out to apply for a job. I was making X amount of dollars, there's a vacancy that has come at a certain job. That person who was in that job was making $40,000 to $60,000 a year, depending on experience and the like. But I don't want to lowball myself by not knowing that. I may come in and say that I only want $35,000 when the range is actually $40,000. So if I don't know that, I'm shortchanging myself. So I think that we are trying to give the person that's applying for a job the most information that they need to apply for a job and get all that they deserve to know their worth and get the value for their
Carolyn,
worth.
I believe
But
it.
I'd like to interrupt if I may here in that we have discussed the merits, the pros and cons of this bill extensively. There are a few more people who would like to either ask questions or state a brief comment about this, and we did have a longish agenda this evening. So we have three more, Mr. Peter, Mr. Kuhn, and Ms.
Yeah.
Cunningham. So Mr. Peter.
Just so to say, if someone's gonna take advantage of an Albany County listing, they would then have to list a competitive price, which might actually be beneficial, but we're saying that other companies won't do it for whatever reasons. Yet, if someone's gonna try to poach, other workers who are now making $15 an hour for $17 an hour, a company in Schenectady would have to list what people are making, which we're now saying that companies don't wanna do for some reason. So, and the other thing is, to have someone go to a job, and we have to think of that, someone has to go, whether a bus or something like that, maybe take days off with an assumption of what they should be paid. And at least this supplies a range, so you know if you're not wasting your time. And that enough versus like some type of secretive, protection of some type of secretive trade secret of what you're gonna pay someone at an interview. And that someone's gonna take advantage of it by also publishing that rate. That's actually how we decide who gets hired. If McDonald's is hiring at $15 an hour and Burger King advertises at $17 an hour, people are gonna go to Burger King. And if McDonald's wants those employees, you gotta get to $17 an hour. I don't see the downside as this large cabal or anything like that, and I see the upside is protecting people who have limited means and abilities to actually get to job interviews, of making sure they're not wasting their time, and I think that trumps most of these other concerns, so I'll be voting in favor.
Thank you, Mr. Kuhn.
Yeah, just, Paul, some of the statements that you made, I just wanna make sure we've got all the facts correct. This, salary disclosure law is in effect in other parts of the state already. It's in, New York City, City of Ithaca, and Westchester County, all have salary disclosure laws. It's been, a similar law has been on the books and in force in the state of Colorado since January of 2021. There haven't been any of the sort of hypothetical negative impacts that have been discussed tonight. In fact, it's had really the opposite effect. the data indicates that in Colorado, when this was passed, it has increased the labor force participation, because people see what they see what they're gonna get paid, or a range of what they're possibly gonna get paid for a job, and that motivates people to join the labor force. To Matt's point, there is a certain amount of time and effort and labor that goes into applying for a job, and it makes sense to inform people, to have transparency in the market that we generally approve of in this country, to inform people about what it is that that job will pay if they apply for it. So it really, from just a free market perspective, it makes sense to put the employees on the same footing that the employers are on. And to the other, to the other example about the sort of the maids and all that, I think the maid or any employee should know what their market value is. They should see if there are ads out there for other people who are doing a similar job, and you realize that you're not being paid as an employee what the employer, what your market value is. You have a right to know that. It's about leveling the playing field between employers and employees so that people have transparency about what their labor is actually worth. So for all those reasons, I think from a free market perspective, there's a lot of benefits to legislation like this, so I'll be supporting it.
Can I just respond to Mr. Kuhn? And Mr. Kuhn really put us through, when we first put this piece of legislation on the table, he, and to hear him give the remarks that he just gave, we've come a long way. So I just want to thank him for the examples and the support that he's given at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Gunn.
Yeah, I'm supporting it, and I want to compliment you for your doggedness on pushing forward on this and all the changes and modifications and prior discussions. There's a lot of data that supports the fact that without salary transparency, the people who lose out are women, are minorities, because they tend to not know their worth. And having, first of all, every employer, when they're recruiting for a job, they know what their salary range is. The only person that doesn't know are the people interviewing for the job. And that's why you see individuals who are taking less than even the bottom of the range take jobs, and it's a disadvantage for them and very less than empowering. The other thing I would say about different kind of markets and so forth is, the housekeeping industry, they know what their competitors are paying. If you're in a sector, you don't know exactly, but you know what the range is. You know kind of what your competitors are paying within probably a very close estimation. So I do think this is designed to be empowering to the employees, to arm them with information that the employer already knows. And, like I said before, there's a lot of data that supports exactly who we're giving a level playing field to, and it's women and it's minorities. And I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor. So thanks for the work on it.
Brief comment? Brief statement, I'll go quick. As a business owner, I've struggled with this, Carolyn, and everything, because I understand what my colleagues are saying. I've really struggled with it. With that said, though, obviously as a legislator, I have to do what's in the best interest of those that I represent. In a previous life, I had a home care business, and I lost a lot of employees, for Mr. Kuhn was saying and Ms. Cunningham was saying, because they went to other jobs, and to Joanne's point, they knew exactly what the range of salary was. So that is, they know what it is. So in analyzing this, I came to the conclusion that, if your salary's a little low, you're gonna have to raise it to your point, to whatever it is, whether it's $15 an hour, 17 in the McDonald's and the Burger King examples, raise the bar for everyone. So with that said, I am gonna support the legislation, because I think it's in the best interest of those that I represent. Thank you.
Thank you. There's nothing further than a motion. Thank you, Mr. Carter.
Yes, motion.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Second by Ms. Cunningham. Thank you very much. All in favor of this moving forward?
Aye.
Thank you.
Any opposed? All of this moving forward favorably? Yes. All-
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No, I'm not opposed for it to move forward.
Mr. Bergeron?
Yes.
You're opposed. Okay,
Thank you so much.
thank you. Passes with one. No.
I know.
All right, moving on to local law H for access to healthcare facilities. Joyce.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Madam Chair and members of the committee. It's good to see everybody back. Not only our members, but all the staff and everybody being here face to face the way we're supposed to. For this local law, we had our public hearing last night. We had a member of the public come and speak in favor. I think it's important, the Albany County Legislature sends a message that when folks go to medical care, whether it be routine or something else, it's a very vulnerable spot, very vulnerable situation that they're in. And we don't believe they should be subjected to any trouble when they go. So looking for a favorable outcome tonight and any discussion. Thank you.
Any questions for Chairman Joyce? Thank you.
Can you just add me, please?
Oh, yeah, can I be on? Oh, I'm on there, never mind.
I'll move it out favorably.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. All in favor of this moving forward?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
All in favor?
Thank you for your leadership.
right, public hearing for local law I, increasing the surcharge from NSN to 911 communications fund. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, members, Chairwoman. My name is Kevin Demarest. I work for Sheriff Apple over at his 911 center, helping answer the phones. This is to increase the current county surcharge for wireless devices in Albany County from 35 cents to 95 cents. The money in revenue would go towards 911 expenditures. Currently, the budget for 911, including .1 money, is 7.8 million. Revenue is 1.4. So we're looking for more revenue to help pay for the system.
Question. So, would it be fair to say that the proliferation of mobile devices has led to an increase in 911 use over the last, let's say, 10, 15 years?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
When I started 25 years ago, we never had road rage incidents. Because you didn't get, by the time you got home, you were calm enough not to call, and you would not report it. But things like that, people do, and of course now everyone has one, so when they see it, we're getting ancillary calls for, witnesses to those events and things like that that are greatly increased our numbers.
So, when a mobile device is sold, there's a certain percentage of those that are going to be used, and that puts demand on our 911 system.
Correct. Even when you get a call for a domestic, you're getting the kids in the house calling you, the victim, the neighbors, all at the same time for the same incident, because everybody has a device in their hand that can button call. So that's greatly increased our call volume.
Mr. Kuhn, if I could also add that the increase of cell phone usage has also seen a decrease in landlines. So there is a surcharge on landline. We don't get that anymore. So there's nothing paying for E911 but for this. Well, there's other stuff the county's paying for, but this will just help ease the county's burden. And the system's being burdened. It's growing, and we definitely need it.
I'll also note, a couple of years ago, the legislature undertook a study with the sheriff's department to look at, the cell phone coverage, deserts and lack of coverage, in the county. We've identified a Bermuda Triangle in Colony. There's one in Slingerlands and Bethlehem. So this is also gonna go towards helping identify further developing those sites and getting additional coverage there where needed.
Yes, Mr. Burke.
I have some concerns about a 60 cent increase. For an average family, you know, 2, 3, 4 cell phones, you're talking, sounds like a little bit of money, $3, $4 a month. But, you know, it could be $50, $60 a year. We've never raised our real property taxes $50 a year on a home in Albany County. So this is, in actuality, a regressive tax that hits every little person, and everybody has a cell phone. The other thing is, the sheriff gave us some information, and I'd love for someone to update this before we get to the floor. But we're already paying a 911 surcharge that the state is skimming. We are paying something like $270 million in a 911 surcharge. And the state is, the last time we talked, the state is only giving back to the counties $80 million. So they're keeping $190 million themselves. So I have some concern that people in actuality, because of the state's unfairness, are being asked to be taxed twice for services, which in many parts of the county, including where I live, you can't get. So I would love to know if anything has changed between the time the sheriff gave us that 270 and $80 million, and I hope somebody brings that out at the public hearing.
Nothing has changed other than the FCC commissioned a study. They report to Congress. New York was one of 5 states to be found utilizing their 911 surcharge tax for non-911 related items. To that point, we actively apply for SICG grants. We were just given 2. We apply for targeted grants for projects. But that money is a fraction of what's actually collected by the state. What Congress can do or FCC can do is yet to remain to be seen. I know they've imposed steep fines and penalties for counties that are not using 911 funds for strictly 911 items. We in the business, when I go out to the 911 coordinators meetings, all feel that that's a prelude to what they're going to do to the state, but water cooler talk, really.
So it seems like people are seeking clarity on how does it work now, what does this change, how is 911 funded, so if I think the majority or some.
Well, yeah, I was just wondering, we have a shortfall now, correct?
Correct.
Right, I mean, the amount of money you get from the 35 cents doesn't cover the 911 cost for us.
It doesn't cover the cost for just one PSAP, not to mention the other 4 PSAPs in the county that are being paid for by local municipalities. So we bring in revenue, I want to say it was 1.4 million last year, and our total budget expense is 7.8. So that comes out of, so the 30-20 budget, which is the 911 budget, is supplemented with the sheriff's 3110 budget. So we're looking for revenue to be applied to where it should be applied for the technology. And the 911 reserve is at the lowest it's ever been. We kept that for emergencies, should something big break and the vendor doesn't take care of it, we pay maintenance on everything with it. At this point, the equipment has gotten to such a level of expense that I don't think any one particular item broke. The reserve would cover it at this point. That was the other point, that the 911 surcharge money in excess should be going into reserve to pay for, you know, the next 911 center 25 years from now, or the next phone system, things like that. So we're not bonding it, would be the point that we're, you know.
I mean, we have a problem, I mean, like, we have a way to, I guess, justify the problem, I know this is only just going to public hearing, right? And I mean, we have a shortfall, one way or the other, the county's gonna have to make it up. And that it looks like a family of four, if they had 4 cell phones, it'd be $5 a month. About right?
Well, we're already paying 35 cents.
35 cents, so I guess, so it's about $4 a month.
60 cents.
So,
Plus the money you're already paying to the state on another surcharge.
sure, but I'm not discounting what you're saying,
Yeah.
Paul, I'm saying that,
Yeah,
like, the county's got a shortfall, the state's not gonna give it to us right now anyway. We at least have to move this to public hearing and consider it,
Well,
because it's a way to do it.
absolutely
Yeah,
move it to public
I
hearing,
understand
I
what
got
you're
no
saying.
problem with that.
Wait, can I?
But just to clarify, wireless devices, so on my wireless bill, I've got 5 Apple Watches, 5 iPads, 5 phones, so it's not actually, for a lot of families, just
It would be-
5 phones.
Oh, you're
It's-
gonna pay you're gonna
You
pay a
pay.
surcharge on each line,
Yeah.
not on the account.
So
These
it's
are-
on each one.
So you may pay 15 times.
No, that's gotta be a mobile phone number.
Yeah, but watches have mobile.
No, I can
mobile
dial
numbers.
from my Apple
Yeah,
Watch.
absolutely.
Is it?
It's not a separate phone.
Oh, yeah, no, it is a separate phone number.
Sure it is.
Yeah.
And so
So
is
is-
my iPad.
My iPad's separate.
So is my hotspot. Yeah,
So,
yeah, those all have phone numbers associated with
yeah,
them.
so if you have 15 devices, you're gonna pay 15 times per month.
Sure, but you have 15
We,
devices.
we.
Well,
Yeah,
but you
no,
look- but you
that's
look-
my own
but-
problem.
Just, if you're on a family plan,
Just to piggyback on that, though, could you cap it at 4 devices, or why would somebody else pay 15? I'm just wondering. Should
Well,
not-
But
I
the
asked the
idea
sheriff to
is I
cap
have
it.
wireless communication from my phone, so I can call 911 from my phone,
It would be for each
Yeah.
individual,
from my iPhone.
it'd be from each individual line, and none of the carriers that we spoke to, all the large carriers, don't have family packages more than 10 lines is the most anyone has. So I don't think,
I don't think so. I've got 4 kids with Apple Watches and iPads and a
So-
hotspot.
So what you're saying is that even if we
Got a
wrote
lot of
legislation which said we cap it at 4 lines, it wouldn't matter, or whatever scenario, because
No, it
you're
wouldn't
saying,
matter.
I just wanna point out, we can't do that because.
that's
we
what I
have-
question,
I
yeah.
get that.
That's what I
Right,
question.
we needed approval from the state to even get to this point. They
Okay.
gave, we asked for this already. Albany County did.
Okay.
Last year, Brandon?
Earlier this year.
Earlier this year.
we brought this up with the sheriff last time, and he said he would consider a cap. And now evidently, they did legislation and whatever. But, you know, this is gonna impact a lot of people in a significant way. If you're 15 units
Okay,
a
but
month.
Paul, my
Yep.
bill's like $700, so you
Yep.
think I'm gonna notice $15?
Wow. Well, it's $15 times 12 months.
This is for the public hearing, I'd like to.
Yeah, I just have a question
Yeah.
though. So you're in here from the sheriff's office, and you're talking about the 911 system. Is there something that requires this money to be channeled as opposed to the general county fund, to the sheriff's office, like 911 system?
yes, the.
Is it in the state law?
Surcharge money,
It's not in this, but I'm assuming that it's in tax law, section 186G, is that requires this to be funneled to
I
that
think it's under
specific
state
purpose?
county law
Okay.
33.7.
Okay, that's what I just,
Consolidated law, 301 is where it starts, section 301 of the New York State Consolidated Laws.
okay.
Is where 911 and the subsequent laws
Yeah, it's a
after that are all
public hearing,
about how the money gets
So it
spent.
doesn't go to the general fist?
Sorry, I
it goes
get
specifically to that.
distracted. It's so much fun being together.
Sorry, we're chatting back just now. Mr. Feeney?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a motion to move this to public hearing.
Second,
Okay, all in favor of this going to public hearing?
aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Madam Chairwoman,
Have a good
thank
night.
you.
Thank you.
Honorable body.
Thank you.
It's my own fault I have such a big rise in
Oh,
wireless.
local
God
law.
bless you, and I complain about my $500.
No, this month is a lot, but it's usually around
Um,
5.
Can I stay here, or do I need to go to the hot seat, Madam Chair?
You can stay here.
Okay,
You're just
I
as
haven't been in
tall.
a committee meeting yet, so I was, just got very excited to come to the table to be on this.
If you want to be in the hot seat, by all means.
I'll be down here with my friends at the Minority Conference.
Are you on the hook?
No, I'm not, no, I'm a guest of the law committee tonight.
Oh, you're responsible.
Indeed. So local law J, I think, the idea of this law is to promote, public safety and, responsible gun, ownership and culture, by taking, what's in the state law, which is a requirement for gun laws, under fairly specific, circumstances. Let me pull up my notes. Right now, the state requires safe gun storage and gun logs. If you live with someone under the age of 16, you have a reason to know that a person under 16 years of age is likely to gain access to the gun, or you know or have reason to know that a person the owner lives with is prohibited from possessing a gun because of an extreme risk protection order, a felony conviction, a mental health adjudication or commitment, or conviction for a serious misdemeanor. This makes that law universal regardless of who you live with, and I think by doing that actually takes a state law and simplifies it through its universality. So that's sort of the idea, intent behind local law J.
Did you model this language from an existing local law? Is that?
I think Westchester County might have a law similar to this.
It in part takes language from Westchester, but also in part takes language from the state law.
Okay.
Once again, I'm going to oppose this law, because I believe what you are inherently doing is taking away someone's right of self-defense. Now, I asked Bruce Hidley how many pistol permits there were in Albany County, and he said, tell people 40 to 50,000 in Albany County. I was amazed. So we are putting, this requirement was bifurcated for 16 and others. So really what you're doing is capturing the others, if I'm correct.
It makes it universal.
Yeah, but did you also increase the penalty?
I'm not sure, I believe so.
I believe it's approximately the same.
Yeah.
Approximately, what does that mean?
Well, I would have to double check the state law, which I don't have
Okay.
at hand, but I can
But-
certainly report back.
The idea, I read your comments in the newspaper this morning where you said you were trying to change the gun culture. The gun is an inanimate object. Culture is what makes people use it incorrectly. So by going after legal gun owners and taking away, in my estimation, the right of self-defense, even in their home, that is going to impact 40 to 50,000 pistol permit holders in Albany County, and probably an equal amount of hunters who do not have or need at this point in time pistol permits, because it applies to every rifle, shotgun, basically any type of firearm. So, I understand what you're trying to do in the name of gun safety, but understand that you are impacting, it could be 60, 70, 80, 90,000 residents of Albany County with this law. In addition, I think when you look, you're going to find that the penalties in this are higher than in the state law. I could be wrong, but I read the state law, 35 pages of it, twice. They left some room for people to defend their households. And you're taking that away, in my estimation. In addition, your effective date is immediate, which means if this passes and it gets filed, you could be making people subject to, is yours a felony or a?
No, misdemeanor.
Misdemeanor?
Only- Well,
but-
violation then misdemeanor.
Oh,
Depending on
but subject to a
what-
$3,000 fine and a, how
That's
long,
if the
3
gun
years
is
in jail?
ultimately used. If
Excuse
the
me?
gun is ultimately used after not being found to
Yeah.
be locked,
Well, what,
that's when it's $3,000, yes.
what's the first offense?
The first offense is a violation with $1,000 fine.
Okay, so on day one, when this gets either signed or filed with the Secretary of State, there is a potential for there to be 40, 50,000 criminals you've created. Haven't taken one illegal gun off the street, but you're going after the culture of legal gun owners as opposed to, you're attacking the object, but not the culture. Those people, legal gun owners are not really the problem we have today. So I'm just explaining what my concerns are with it and what many, many sportsmen's concerns will be with it. And, you know, when you get out into the hill towns and other rural areas where having a firearm is like, you know, having a sledgehammer or an axe, it's a tool that you use about your home. You're impacting people's way of life. So I've made my points.
Yeah, appreciate the points. Ms. Cunningham and then.
I mean, one thing I think we also have to think about, I mean, I don't know a lot of gun owners, but the only gun owners I do know actually already safely have locks and storage for their guns. So I think assuming that no one in the county isn't doing this and we're impacting every single gun owner on day one, my small sample of gun owners actually already do safety locks and store them in ways that I think would comply with this law. And I would like to be added as a sponsor, and thanks for doing this, because I think that safe gun storage is not impeding your right to own a gun or use your gun. It's just preventing accidents from happening. And there is a good bit of data that shows that guns that are in the homes that are unsafely stored generate a lot of tragic accidents. So I applaud you for taking this step.
Well, no, if it's in your
Could I just
possession, you're
clarify, so
okay.
the locking requirements and safe storage, that's already in place if there's 16 and under in the household, not 18 and under? 16 and under?
Let me double, I think it's 16.
16.
16.
You're correct.
You don't think if someone has an extreme risk order,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
or a domestic violence, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Sure. I'm gonna start by maybe surprising Paul by saying that with the immediate thing, I might recommend that, given that if this passes, someone might have to go out and buy a storage thing, we might wanna add a 90-day or something like that from the effective date or something like that. So on that part, Paul, I'm sort of agreeing. But where I'm not gonna agree is that today I got an APD alert. And it said, loaded .45 caliber handgun, which was reported stolen in December 2019 out of Columbia County, was located inside the vehicle. And it was involved in shots fired on several occasions in Albany. My guess is that was probably not a gun that was secured and it was stolen, whether from a house or something else. And so I actually do see this as a connection, because guns that are left out by like gun owners who do not feel they have to can be stolen and then used on illegal actions, as was the case on this APD alert I got today. And several others I've gotten in the past where stolen unsecured guns from legal gun owners have ended up causing violence on the streets of Albany. So I actually do think this could stop preventing illegal gun use. Not because legal gun owners are doing the wrong thing, but because by not locking it properly, it's exposing those guns to illegal uses, and that's actually part of the law as well, if it's used in a negative law. So I actually do think it has an effect. I'm happy to sponsor this, and I think I already am. I'm happy to, and thank you, Dustin, for bringing it up.
Can I just ask a question? Does anybody who knows more about, perhaps more about firearms than I do, don't almost all guns have a safety?
Absolutely.
Every gun that I've ever had has a
Most
safety.
rifles and shotguns have a safety.
Right.
Automatic pistols, and please take the automatic pistols, are semi-automatic, they're not
Unless they're
machine
filled
pistols.
with, but yeah.
Most of them have safeties.
Right.
Some of them actually have hand grip safeties so that they cannot go off unless someone is depressing the, gripping the gun in such a way that it can fire. Revolvers, the original pistols, do not have safeties.
Okay.
Okay.
So most of the guns then, with the exception of maybe, revolvers, have safeties. Safely, the law says that you can satisfy its requirements by storing the gun in such a way, by locking the weapon in a way that renders it incapable of being fired by use of a safety locking device appropriate to that weapon. And a safety locking device shall mean a design adaptation, blah, 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 that prevents the discharge or firing of the weapon. So I think for the vast majority of the guns, storing it.
No.
Why
And
not?
the safety can easily be clicked off on
Yeah.
any,
Yeah,
almost pretty much
what
any gun that you.
they're talking about there,
An actual
Jeff,
locking
is there are different devices.
Well, hold on.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Safety locking device shall mean a design adaptation that prevents the discharge or firing of the weapon. Why isn't that just the safety?
Well, the safety does not necessarily prevent the discharge of the weapon in all cases. It's merely a
And it's a built-in
proposed
design.
safety device. Yes, it's a built-in device,
Not
it's not a
adaptation.
design adaptation. This definition actually came from the state law.
Right.
Madam Chair, the interpretation that we just heard is absolutely correct. That safety is designed, and it does just that. So that's an issue that applies to this legislation, where somebody could think that based upon that reading, that safety is, that they're in compliance. And obviously, some people around the table think that wouldn't be in compliance. But if you read that legislation, then, as stated, a safety on that gun complies with that legislation.
So
I think
I
it
mean, it's an
does.
intrinsic part of the gun, not an
My reading-
adaptation that's added to
But when you're
the
talking
gun.
about accessory, an accessory is in the disjunctive, right? A design adaptation, comma, attached accessory or device installed. So it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we
I
can,
read it to me
if
like
that's
if
a
you
concern, we
store
can
it with
certainly
the safety
tighten that up.
on, like
If-
that would be okay.
See, my
That's
reading-
literally the definition from the state, but we can certainly tighten it up as necessary, if there is that concern.
Well, I wasn't concerned, I just thought I was responding to.
No,
Well, I'm saying, well,
believe me,
it's not as onerous as you're making it out,
If-
because you put the safety on. and
If
you're-
it were, Jeff, if it were clear that if you stored your weapon with the safety on, you were in compliance, there wouldn't be a problem with this.
So, yeah.
Okay, there are
Now, this
people,
is
I'm
going
reading,
for
I'm
public
reading it the
hearing.
same way that Jeff is reading it. Like, I looked at this and thought, oh, if I take the ammo out of my shotgun and put the safety on, I'm good. That's exactly how I just looked at this. So I didn't really know why anyone, I didn't think it was that onerous. But I agree, it's whether, the state has the same language or not, they're certainly not infallible, but this to me didn't look like it was as onerous as maybe it is, because I thought the same thing. You can't fire it without,
We've got enough
Ammo.
discussion, could I just move this for public hearing?
Sure.
I'll second.
Second.
Second, yeah.
it's better to
In
have
favor
it
of
for a
moving
public
forward to
hearing.
public hearing?
Aye.
Because you can take the ammo out of your shotgun, put the safety on.
let's say if that were,
I don't think that's how I, design adaptation, that is a design change. So that's not a safety, that's part of the design of the gun.
Motion on the floor, folks, all in favor?
Aye.
well, I'll have to hire you as my defense counsel when I get,
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, I'm friendly to it.
no,
A little longer.
I appreciate your reading.
Okay, item 9. Banning deadly weapons, etc. from Albany County facilities.
I'll just say briefly, I'll take a look at that.
Dustin, that is the hot seat apparently.
It is positive. I'll just say to Mr. Bergdorf, we'll take a look at the language between the state and our law, and if there's a discrepancy in the penalties, especially for ours becoming more stringent, happy to take a look at that, so we'll follow up on that. Local law K, another straightforward, piece of legislation, helping to promote public safety, by banning, deadly weapons, dangerous instruments, explosive devices, and poisonous gases from Albany County buildings and facilities. Again, the intent of this law is to keep folks safe, and I think by codifying what should be a norm, but is not, hopefully we'll be promoting public safety with local law.
So nothing, if I may just ask, nothing already bans these from people just walking around in the county buildings?
No,
No.
the currently, the only thing that would prevent anyone from coming in with a weapon is our workplace violence policy, which prevents us employees from bringing in
What about the
weapons
state
to
law that says you can't?
be violent against other employees.
Are there any questions for Mr. Reed?
It's a quick one. I'm gonna surprise you, because I'm gonna support this, okay? The one thing I would like you to look at, many people use a knife every day. It's part of getting dressed. Whether it's a pocket knife or something that clicks on, you're a tradesman, you're a whatever. It is as natural as having a screwdriver or a wrench in your pocket. So would you take a look at the definition? I mean, I see it says
It's
a
not-
switchblade knife or a gravity knife, but a lot of those,
Your average jackknife is not included in that. A metal knuckle knife, a dagger, a billy, those are all legally defined in the penal law, and also a switchblade or a butterfly knife, those are all already legal. So you shouldn't, should you have them, you should
a
not.
gravity
But
knife?
A gravity knife is a knife where you flick it and it automatically comes out just by the gravity of, that's illegal in New York.
Yeah.
You can't have that. You can have a jackknife, which is one where you pull out the blade, that's perfectly legal. This would not prevent that.
Right.
Okay,
Well,
just,
you're not supposed to bring any dangerous instrument, and that includes
But it's also
knives.
defined in penal law, section 10, so
So that's already.
it does, a jackknife is not included in that definition.
That's helpful. Yes, Mr. Moon.
Does every county office have a magnetometer? Every building?
No, not to my knowledge.
Which ones don't?
Does DS?
Well,
We'll
BOE
find out, we'll
doesn't, do
double
they?
check with
Yes,
that.
that's-
Yeah, BOE does not, you're right.
Yeah, BOE doesn't have one.
I know what you mean. I know people who like carry a knife around with them as like they bring their keys around, but you know what? You shouldn't bring it into the county building. Leave it in your car, right? Certain places you don't bring your knives, and yeah, I know what you're saying, that certain people do carry it around as a matter of course, but when you come into a county office building, you shouldn't bring it. I think that's fair. You can't
Yeah,
bring it
you
to the
wouldn't.
airport.
You can't bring it
well,
in
no,
a
there's a
congressional
definition of a
building.
knife, 3-inch blade under TSA.
Alright.
You can have a Swiss Army knife, you know.
It is, but we're having such a good
I
time.
know we are.
I would love to move this to public hearing.
I'll second that.
Second by
All in
Mr.
favor?
Bergdorf. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm gonna leave my door sort of on.
Any other guns, knives, explosives you want to talk about tonight?
No, but I need to sponsor more laws so I can hang out with you guys more.
Oh, law committee.
I was gonna talk about like nature.
Place where people really read the words.
Item 10.
All right, let's go
We actually
nature.
need to table pending the prime sponsor being available. Item 11, public hearing on local law M.
I'm here for that. Just to refresh everyone's memory, this was introduced as an amendment to Mr. Reedy's law that we passed in July, which required firearm dealers, gun shops, to post a sign on their windows behind the counter and to hand out flyers. And the point that was made at that time was that that legislation, as well as the other one tonight that you introduced as far as the locking of firearms, really is targeting legal gun owners. And the real issue we have in this county is those that possess illegal guns. Typically, when a crime is committed with a firearm, it's usually done by someone who's possessing an illegal gun. So what we're looking to do with this is to get the notice out there to people. A lot of people really don't know quite how to dispose of their illegal guns, or they're afraid. They're afraid to call the sheriff's department or the authorities to come and take the gun. So what we're proposing here, and actually I have a quote from the governor from back in June, and 'cause she's working with the state police, and the state police currently have a task force that's out there trying to remove illegal guns, and Governor Hochul is quoted as saying, we've had one goal: get illegal guns off our streets. This is the primary driver of crime that is violent. So what we want to do is we want to partner with the other departments in the county, and I'll read them: Department of Mental Health, Children, Youth and Families, Social Services, Health Department, Probation, Veteran Services, and we would like these departments, aging as well, we would like these departments to circulate a flyer on their initial visit. And if everyone saw the amendment that we sent out at the end of last week, we didn't want to make this burdensome to the county, we didn't want to make it expensive. Initially, we wanted to have anyone that was a department, working in a department or a contractor for the county, distribute these notices, and that could have meant anybody distributing a Meals on Wheels meal. And that wasn't the intent of this. It's not to be burdensome, it's to be circulated on the initial visit, a notice that you can give to families and people saying that you can call the sheriff's department, you can turn in an illegal firearm, and there will be no ramifications. And again, what we're trying to do is we're trying to target illegal guns and trying to get them off the street. So it was suggested that we, after the amendment failed with Mr. Reedy's legislation, that this be submitted as its own separate law, so we're doing that this evening. So again, targeting illegal weapons. That is the purpose of this legislation. I'm open to any questions.
Any questions?
Sure. So what is an illegal gun, though? Like, what is that?
An illegal gun is one that is not registered
Okay.
to anyone, stolen.
Prohibited by the SAFE Act.
Sure.
Okay. Because this doesn't define what that means, right? Illegal gun. Like, it's, I mean, a bunch of different things, right? Is the gun itself, it's not registered? Do you, the person, not have a right to possess it, right? Is that an illegal gun? Any gun, even a gun that's been registered but not in possession of somebody who,
Yes.
that would be
Yes,
illegal too.
that's illegal.
So, I mean, there's a bunch of different, I don't know, it's kind of a vague term, I'm not exactly sure what it means. The other,
Well, as an example, with pistols, if you own a pistol, you have to have a permit for it.
right,
So if I'm in possession of a pistol and I don't have a permit for it, that's an illegal weapon.
right, okay. So, I have a couple questions about this. First of all, I don't have a problem in principle with kind of telling people, I don't have any problem in principle with telling people that guns are dangerous, because they are.
It's more than that. It's more than that. It's more than telling them it's dangerous. It's telling them that you have a way of disposing this weapon without any ramifications.
Yeah, and I'm actually fine with that too. What I find a little kind of obnoxious isn't the right word, but sort of almost offensive, is where is your data, if you have any, that the people who receive county services from any of these departments are any more likely than the average person to possess an illegal gun, right? why are we handing this out to people who are getting county services, right? Okay, so do you have any data that indicates that that is a population of people that is somehow more likely to possess, illegal guns, or that giving that message to these people in particular is gonna somehow have some significant utility? I have more questions, but let me stop there.
All right, well, we have to start somewhere with getting the word out and
Right.
having the county do this. And I am open to any other suggestions as far as how we can get this word out to everybody in the county that you can turn in your weapons or turn in or an illegal weapon
Good.
without any ramifications. So, and that's fine, because that's what we want to do. We're not, this is just a way to get it out there initially at least. But if anybody has any ideas on how we can expand this, we're all ears.
Right, I think that, and bear with me for a minute, but like, giving this out, like when people need some sort of county service, right? For whatever it is, there's something offensive about the idea that, hey, I'm coming in, from the Department of, any of these departments, Children, Youth and Families, or Department of Mental Health, or Department of Agency, they're going in to see somebody who needs mental health services, and, oh, listen, before we get started, I have to give you this notice about illegal guns. It seems like a total non sequitur, first of all, for a lot of the services these people are gonna be delivering. And there's also this implication that you, person who's getting any number of services from the county, are somebody who should receive this note about illegal guns, when I'm not seeing any basis to say that those people are in any way more apt to need this message. So here's what my suggestion would be. We get rid of this thing of handing it out to people when they're receiving services, because like I said, it's just, I don't know, it seems sort of offensive to me. And really doesn't have any utility. But let's keep your notice thing, right? But what I would suggest on your notice, and posting it in county offices or whatever, I'm fine with it. But I would get rid of the first sentence. Illegal guns are used in the majority of gun-based crimes in New York State. Because I don't know what illegal guns means. Then the next sentence is possession of an illegal gun endangers every member of your household or community. I'd get rid of an illegal. I would just say possession of a gun endangers every member of your household and community. Because it's true, it does. You're much more likely to accidentally hurt yourself with a gun than you are to ever use it successfully in self-defense. And many more people kill themselves with guns through suicide than any other way that people are hurt with guns. So possession of a gun endangers every member of your household and community. And then the second paragraph, you cannot be charged with illegal possession of a firearm if it is voluntarily surrendered. I'm fine with that. If you or a loved one possesses a firearm, not an illegal firearm, because the average person isn't gonna understand what that is, because I don't even quite understand it. If you or a loved one possesses a firearm, you can voluntarily dispose of that weapon by calling, and then just leave the same. So you're telling people guns are dangerous. You're not giving it out to people when they're getting county services, but you're posting it somewhere where people will see it to get the message out. Guns are dangerous. You can't be charged with possession of a firearm if you turn it in voluntarily, and that's it. And I think that would be great.
So you're just looking to have this posted in county buildings and not distributed throughout the county?
Not handed out to people when they're getting services. You have no basis to say that that's effective. You've got no basis to say that those people are more likely to need this message, and it's kind of offensive.
I read it and had the exact same thing. Like, people who are receiving county services, a lot of them are low income, they're vulnerable, they're needy, they have issues. So to me, the thought that, oh, we're gonna target these people because we know they have illegal guns, it just seemed very weird. I like the kind of changes. I mean, if you wanna get to everyone, send it in like a tax bill or something. That goes to everyone, and, having illegal guns could be, again, we don't have data on who exactly owns or possesses the illegal gun, so if you want to blanket everyone.
In actuality, we do have data.
Well, we don't
If
have
you-
data
if you
that
took-
the
if you
Albany,
took-
wait, we don't have data that the Albany County recipients of social services are at higher illegal gun,
No,
have
but
higher.
you do have data. Every time the police arrest somebody with an illegal gun, you know that the person could be under 18. You know that the person has no permit. The gang shootings and those sorts of things, these are not happening with legal guns. They're happening with illegal guns. You can put dots on a map.
But that's not what we're saying. What, sorry, I don't want to speak.
No, I'm just saying, you don't have data suggest that anything linking recipients of county services to illegal gun possession, you know? And it
It's
just,
probably the opposite.
and it's probably the opposite for all you know.
Can
A lot of these
can I
people
just
are
jump in for
victims.
30 seconds? This is a very simple proposition. The county people that are mentioned are the ones that do home visits. So how do you get the most bang for the buck? You have a Xerox machine, you Xerox and say, hey, listen, in between everything else, in case you ever see somebody with an illegal gun, here's somebody you can call. That's the reason for it. It's not because anybody's saying that they're more
No, I
apt.
know, but I can think of better messages. If
Well,
you're gonna
but-
Xerox something, how about like
But-
suicide prevention or something? I
But-
mean,
but-
People
but the
who receive
point-
county services are a very, very small proportion of the county residents and population.
No. The
Ms.
county
Ricciardo earlier
itself,
said
the
2,000
county
people.
itself physically goes out with these
public
agencies. That's the reason that this started. The idea of putting it out with tax bills or some other mechanism, getting the word out, that's fine. That's why you have this committee to have those discussions. Right.
I would also say though, like.
It's not
again,
pinpointing somebody.
But it sort of is. If I went to every home that said ban the SAFE Act and said, by the way, if you have an illegal AR-15, here's how you turn it in, my guess is you guys wouldn't be okay with that. And so let me just say that, like, it is offensive, and there's a point to it. And the fact is that if we're gonna do it, we do it generally. We say that should be in every public building, like we do with gun buybacks and stuff like that, then let's do it. We don't go up to someone and say, you got a gun? Great, there's a buyback over there. No, we post it publicly, so it's done. And I do think illegal guns like AR-15s should also be noted. Maybe we should put in something that says, if a gun is in violation of the SAFE Act, you have broken the law. Here's how you turn it in. And it should be public. It shouldn't be, we go after people who are looking for help and already feel stigmatized and further that stigmatization. Instead, we do things like, if you wanna do a billboard, that say guns are illegal, and by the way, here's how you turn it if you see one, or a tip line, or see something, say something, fine, but it shouldn't be for people who are coming to help.
This is for public hearing, and we want to move it for public hearing.
Well, wait, I mean, are you guys, is there any,
I like Joanne's idea, put it in the tax bill.
Well, the county doesn't
You
send
can put
tax.
it in the bathroom with the feminine hygiene products, how about that? The notice, how about that?
well, I'm not sure women are the highest possessors of illegal guns. I mean, it just seems so random to me, you know?
I just think it's this committee's usual practice to put something to the public hearing, and I think we should do that just to move it. I think you just made a motion to move it, didn't you?
no, wait, what is the point of this first stage of every piece of legislation? Like, if we don't like it, why are we sending it to public hearing, right?
Because I think the public has the opportunity to speak.
I think it's not ready for prime
Why
time.
don't we just send everything?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Shall we possibly table this for further discussion?
Motion to table it.
Wait, isn't that up to?
Table by the committee?
No, I'm asking if you wish to
If you,
table it.
the committee can
There's a
table
motion,
it.
there's a motion on
I
the
don't wanna
table
make it.
already.
You have a
He withdrew
motion
it.
to commit.
He withdrew it, right?
He withdrew his motion. to
I
table.
offered a motion to table it and you seconded.
If things are happening so quickly.
That sounds like
Okay,
a good,
so the motion
that
to
sounds
table
like a
and
good
a
idea.
we need to vote on. All in favor of tabling? Any opposed? One opposed. Sorry, hopefully this will.
Okay, and actually that gives us an
I
opportunity.
thought that other ways to achieve the same goal that.
Okay.
Okay, items 12 through 16 are tabled pending public hearing.
I was hoping by taking it to public hearing, it would create a condensed period where somebody could sit down.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody. We are done.
Well, this was fun tonight, wasn't it?
I just want you to know